Greetings, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to this virtual Battle of the Books with Jim Mustich. Our host for today's battle is Denver Public Library in Denver, Colorado. And now, to start things off, here's Erica Martinez. Erica is the Director of Communications and Community Engagement for Denver Public Library. Erica, take it away.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Battle of the Books. My name is Erica Reyes Martinez, and I am the Director of Communications and Community Engagement for the Denver Public Library. Yes, that's a long title, but I feel like I have the best job in the world. I have the honor of telling people all about the great work that happens at the library and engaging with the community to learn how we can better serve our community. The mission of Denver Public Library is, together, we create welcoming spaces where all are free to explore and connect. Although our buildings are closed, we are still here for you with virtual programming, such as today's, and curbside pickup and so much more. So please encourage you to check us out. This event is part of the Denver Public Library's Winter of Reading program. It's our annual program designed to encourage adults to connect with reading and discover something new about the library. I encourage you to join us in this program. Thank you so much for being here tonight. And I'm excited about this evening's event. But before we get started, I want to say a special thank you to Jim and Margot Mustich, Book Bar, and our 5 panelists for the evening for tonight's event. Our partners from the Denver Public Library Friends Foundation and Levin Deli also deserve kudos. And I also want to give a special shout out to the Denver Public Library Battle Team for helping make today possible. Programs like these are only possible when a team of committed staff members make them happen. A special acknowledgement to Consuelo Cosio for her contributions. Wanted to take some opportunity to just share a little bit more about Winter of Reading. So each year we encourage adults ages 17 years and up in our community to explore new reading experiences and find inspiration to discover more about the library. And so there are also prizes. So this program really gives you a variety of different ideas to plug in, whether it's through books, through programming, to activities. So if you're able to participate, once you finish a variety of different activities, you will get a prize. And so we've got a couple of really neat prizes, a mug, a gator, a little notebook that you can choose from. And there's a variety of really cool events. There's a trivia walk in one of our neighborhoods. There's discussions on different books. There's just such a wide variety of programming opportunities like tonight's program. So please go online at denverlibrary.org and type in Winter of Reading, and you'll be able to see a little bit more about this program and learn how to sign up for it. It's really pretty easy. There's a brochure, and you're able to download it yourself and complete 5 activities. Describe what you did, and that's really it. It's really simple, and we encourage you to participate. Before we get started, I want to turn it over for a word from Governor Jared Polis, who couldn't be with us today virtually.
Jared Polis, thank you for inviting me to join you all tonight. And I want to applaud the Denver Public Library for all the incredible work that you've done over the last year to bring essential services to Coloradans like at-home reading activities, online book clubs, learning, meal deliveries, and more. Your programs span age groups, the very young, the very old, and everybody in between, and reach folks in households across the metro area. Over the last year, so many of us have looked at books as a way to escape and help process the unprecedented pandemic while we're spending more time with our families. Tonight's event is an excellent outlet for book lovers, and I can't wait to see what the other guests bring forward in this epic battle. The stakes are high, and the winner's favorite book will be enshrined in the list of 1,000 books to read before you die. I'm going to offer up during the pandemic when we were staying at home, I read all of the works of Agatha Christie. First, the Hercule Poirot short stories and novels, and then the Miss Marple short stories and novels. It's hard to have a favorite from among them. It's so amazing to see the great work that she did, often predictable in a sense with the pattern of the meeting in the great house and the figuring out, but the details, those details and clues of each case, very different. I really enjoy reading through the complete works of Agatha Christie, one of the most talented and, of course, the most widely read author of the 20th century. Thank you all for participating, and have a great night.
We really appreciate Governor Jared Polis's message today, and we regret that he couldn't be with us to virtually battle it out. So today we have 5 different panelists, and one of them is including myself, and we'll have the opportunity to advocate for our book of choice. So with that said, I would like to welcome our MC, the Mr. Mustich. Take it away.
Thank you very much. Good evening. I'm happy to be here and to know that out there, we have more than 300 people who've signed up to join us for this event. So that's exciting. And a warm welcome to all of you from my little book room here in Connecticut across the country. I'd like to thank the library for hosting the celebration of books and reading, and for inviting us to bring our Battle of the Books for the occasion. I'd especially like to thank Dodie Onis and Jennifer Dewey for planning and coordinating it with us over the past several weeks. They've been wonderful collaborators. And a special thanks to Ashara Smith for managing the technology that enables us to convene this remote event tonight. I'd also like to thank our book-selling partner, Book Bar on Tennyson Street, where you can purchase the books we're going to be talking about. And especially our presenters, who I'm going to introduce to you momentarily. But a couple of things before that. I'm grateful to Governor Polis for setting the tone so beautifully at a time when he's attending to many more important matters, which have prevented him from joining us in person. As he suggested, at times like these, it's good to have the company of books. You may not have reached for Agatha Christie to help you through 2020, but whatever you reached for, you sought the same combination of escape and stimulation that books are so good at delivering. And if the company of books is good, so is the company of readers and the conversation they engage in, which is what our battles of the books are all about. Let me quickly tell you how they came to be. I spent a long time writing this book, 1,000 Books to Read Before You Die. In its nearly 1,000 pages, I've written 1,000 short, but I hope inviting essays on books ranging from the works of Agatha Christie to those of Abraham Lincoln. From the Epic of Gilgamesh, which was encoded on stone tablets in Babylon 4,000 years ago, to Life in Code, A Personal History of Technology by Ellen Ullman, which was published in 2017. And from the Aeneid of Virgil to Toni Morrison's Beloved. I spent 14 years writing the book, and when it was finally published in the fall of 2018, my wife Margot and I traveled around the country talking about the project in bookstores and libraries. Now, the best part of those evenings were the conversations with the audience afterwards, which made me realize, just as I suspected, that I was going to spend the next 14 years of my life hearing from readers about what I'd gotten wrong in the book, the books I'd left out, the authors I should have included. I anticipated this. In fact, in the introduction to the book, I wrote the following. Once people know you are writing a book called 1,000 Books to Read Before You Die, you can never enjoy a dinner party in quite the way you did before. No matter how many books you've managed to consider, and no matter how many pages you've written, every conversation with a fellow reader is almost sure to provide new titles to seek out, or more worryingly, to expose an egregious omission or a gap in your knowledge, to say nothing of revealing the privileges and prejudices, however unwitting, underlying your points of reference. For years, 1,000 books felt like far too many to get my head around, but now it seems too few by several multiples. So let me say what already should be obvious. My book is neither comprehensive nor authoritative, nor is it meant to be. It is meant to be a conversation, even a merry argument, about the books and authors that are included, as well as the books and authors that I've left out. Because the question of what to read next is the best prelude to even more important ones, like who to be and how to live. Fueled by the passions of many different readers, those conversations after our book tour events were always the best part of the evening. And one night, Margot had the inspired idea that we make them an evening of their own, and thus the Battle of the Books was born, landing us in communities around the country where local luminaries could share their own favorite books with us and their neighbors, and the audience could vote on who was most persuasive. Which brings us to our battle tonight. So let's get to it. We have 5 contestants: Michelle Jeske, Manuel Ramos, Dr. Elizabeth Renee Fillardo, Adrian Miller, and Erica Martinez, who you've already met, who is valiantly filling Governor Polis's original slot. I'm going to introduce them one by one, and they will each get 4 minutes to speak about a book that I left off my list of 1,000 books that they think everyone should read before they die. I will signal them gently with a bell when they have 30 seconds left and vehemently when they hit the 4-minute mark. After all 5 have pitched their books, you'll get to cast your vote for who was most convincing. And at the end of the evening, we'll have a door prize for one of you in the audience, a reader's gift bag. Up first is writer and teacher Michelle Jeske. Michelle is Denver's city librarian, only the 10th, by the way, in 130 years. That means she's head of the Denver Public Library with more than 4.4 million annual visitors and 9 million checkouts in normal times. She's also president of the Public Library Association, an active member of multiple city and community groups focused on youth and community engagement, and a passionate advocate for the public library's democratic role in the community. In her spare time, she loves to cook, walk, make mosaics, and you guessed it, read. The book she'll be talking about is Love Medicine by Louise Erdrich. Michelle, take it away.
Thank you, Jim and Margot, for this really fun opportunity. And thank you to all the participants for joining in this fun. I'm grateful both to the library staff supporting this event tonight, but all the ones who help keep me and other book lovers topped up with books each week. And I want to thank all of you for showing up tonight to cheer us on. Most of us are not taught much about the indigenous people of this land. What we've learned is a white colonialist version of the past and a nearly complete ignorance of the rich life of contemporary Native peoples. We've been educated on simplistic and racist stories. What does this have to do with Love Medicine, a novel by Louise Erdrich, you ask? I love learning about other cultures, experiences, other worldviews, about history and truth through literature. We know from research that reading fiction helps people develop empathy and critical thinking, qualities that I'm sure you agree we should be building and flexing right now of all times. Love Medicine is an entry into a world most of us know little to nothing about on one hand, and yet when you're talking about humanity and love, it's a universal story too. It was easy to select this author because her absence in 1,000 Books Before You Die was surprising to me. Erdrich is one of the most prolific and widely respected Native American writers, winner of many awards, a lover of books and stories, and what's extra cool, the owner of an independent bookstore. Erdrich is an enrolled member of the Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa Indians, many of whom live on or near a reservation in North Dakota, the state from which my people hail. Tell me, unless you're a Louise Erdrich fan, if you've ever even heard of this tribe. Most people can't even tell the difference between North and South Dakota, for Pete's sake. And this isn't a shaming exercise. Erdrich's stories introduce these people to me. That's the power of story. So I put forward that Louise Erdrich, a poetic and powerful storyteller with a unique voice, belongs in this mix, and that when telling a story, it's always best to start with the beginning. Therefore, Love Medicine, her debut novel, should be included and read by all of you. Love Medicine is the first in a series of linked novels written over the last 2 decades. In this novel and others, you hear from multiple narrators from the Cashpaw and Lamartine families. Voices chime in, stories intertwine, weaving a tale about love and death, hardship and redemption, humor and resilience, oppression and survival, and the seeking of identity and the universal longing to belong. Erdrich's prose is rich and lyrical. There are sentences I could read over and over again. She is a poet after all. An example, the length of the sky is just about the size of my ignorance. While this is a beautiful book, it is not an easy book. The combination of multiple narrators and a nonlinear storyline, almost a set of short stories told back and forth over the course of time, make this an intellectual challenge, which I know I can use right now. My brain swelled and then swooned rereading this book. I had to concentrate, dig in, go back, and then forward again. One of the characters puts it, events loop around and tangle again. This book is devastating and funny, a novel full of voices, voices that you come to love. I suggest you read it and the novels that follow. It's Love Medicine, after all.
Michelle, thank you so much for that eloquent case for Louise Erdrich and Love Medicine, which I regret I left out of 1,000 books. And it's a wonderful thing to have spent 14 years of your life on a task that other readers are going to convince you that you've been a complete slacker by leaving so many books out. But that was a great case for that marvelous book. Our next presenter tonight is Manuel Ramos. Manuel is a retired lawyer and the author of 10 published novels, with an 11th novel, Angels in the Wind, to be published in April 2021. He's also published one short story collection. He has received the Colorado Bar Association's Jacob V. Schetzel Award, the Colorado Hispanic Bar Association's Chris Miranda Award, the Spirit of Tataloco Award, and others. His fiction has garnered the Colorado Book Award, the Chicano Latino Literary Award, the Top Hand Award from the Colorado Authors League, and 3 honorable mentions from the Latino International Book Awards. His book tonight is La Maravilla by Alfredo Vea. Manuel, you're on.
Good evening, book lovers. And I want to thank everybody for participating tonight, especially the Denver Public Library and Jim and Margot for inviting me to participate in this event. It feels like it's really essential at this time that we talk about some of these things that these books bring up. The book I've chose is La Maravilla by Alfredo Vea Jr. And to tell you the truth, Alfredo has written 4 novels, and I think that each one could be on the need to read list. La Maravilla was his debut novel, and it's semi-autobiographical. And so I highly recommend that if you get a chance that you should pick this book up and check it out. It's here's the first edition of the book. And I know that it's in several different editions and available online. Now, Alfredo was born in poverty in a place called Buckeye Road outside of Phoenix. He was eventually a migrant farm worker. He went to Vietnam and was a veteran. He, after the war, he got himself into Stanford Law School, and he eventually became a well-known criminal defense attorney. He's an amazing person, and if you ever have a chance to have a conversation with Alfredo, you will certainly benefit. He wrote La Maravilla when he was defending a Mexican-American boy against a murder charge. And during the course of the trial, he was always butting heads with the judge who was outright racist and abusive. And Alfredo realized he needed something to escape, and so he started writing the manuscript for La Maravilla. And what it turned out to be was a coming-of-age novel about the boy, Beto, who lives in the shanty town in Buckeye Road, and the history of what happens to that boy as he slowly emerges into maturity. Alfredo has said about the book that it was a story of true origins of culture, a story about race that began in anger, but slowly became a love song for culture for people on the outside. La Maravilla today is a Chicano literature classic. Beto is raised by his grandparents, Josefina, who's a Spanish curandera, and Manuel, who's a Yaqui Indian. And so the story itself unfolds through the eyes of Beto. It's in complex and lyrical language and beautiful language, overwhelming but beautiful details. And the story is a moving tribute, in my opinion, to basic human decency. The book presents essentially a fantastic vision of life, death, love, and hate. The characters are outstanding, and they range from the grocer keeper in Buckeye Road to a busload of transvestites who happen to be living in the town, to other veterans of previous wars, a wide range of characters and a taste of humanity. And what I've decided to do here is read a short passage from the book that takes place when the boy Beto and his grandfather are having a conversation as the grandfather is sitting in his rocking chair. Abuelo, the boy interrupted, is it true I am American? Bernetta says I'm a Mexican, but also an American. Yes, you are American, but not in the gringo sense. You are Spanish and Yaqui. You are mestizo from Aztlán, this land, right here where the Nahua people began. He stamped his foot into the packed earth. That is what a Mexican is. But you were born here in America también. And that is what a Chicano is. You don't become nothing. It's only the gringos that become. They are Xipe, he said, referring to the ancient god of new growth beneath the old. It was the word for those people on earth who do not know where they belong. The grandfather continued, gringos become other religions like choosing a hat and become other names and have no connection to places they live. They say that they are 1/3 this and 1/4 that, and their ancestors come from such and such, but they don't know nothing about them. They have no stories. They have no tribe. Their campfire is the goddamn television. You, he pointed at the boy now, you know where your blood has been for the last 10,000 years, mijo. There are words and songs, palabras y canciones that tell you and explain to you. You do not become American. America becomes you, mijo. Do you smell that, mijo? The tortillas and the frijoles and the chorizo? No matter where you go to places I know I shall never see, when you walk past a doorway or a window and one of those smells hits you, you will come back here to this place and this time.
Up. Manuel, thank you. We ran out of time. That was a wonderful passage from La Maravilla. I'm sorry to interrupt on that. Our next contestant.
I was finished, Jim. Thank you.
You're welcome. Our next contestant is Dr. Elizabeth Renee Fillardo. Dr. Fillardo is a mother of 7 and a cultural activist who has spent the past 30 years preserving and promoting the rich heritage of Colorado's multicultural communities through her work as a storyteller and writer. She has co-authored numerous books in the Tummy Tales series, Holy Moly Guacamole, plus 7 other books that preserve family food traditions. Since 2010, she has been the director of the Metropolitan State University Chicano Studies Journey Through Our Heritage program, a program that partners community organizations and university students with local high schools and middle schools to create teams that work on service learning projects. She is the board chair of the Chicano Humanities and Arts Council, and in 2018, she was inducted into the Denver Public Library Cesar Chavez Leadership Hall of Fame. And tonight, she's going to talk about Bless Me Ultima by Rudolfo Anaya. Dr. Fillardo?
Oh, I hope my camera's working. I am honored to be a part of this event and very humbled to be keeping company with the panelists here who are among our nation's most respected visionaries. I want to thank the Mustiches, the Denver Public Library, for inviting me to participate in this awe-inspiring event. Many thanks to the audience members, to my kids who are watching this by force, to my husband and dad and stepmom who are not, to my hermanos, and to my maestra, Rita Wallace de Flores, and her esposo Juanito. She is my ultima. I have chosen tonight the book by Rudolfo Anaya, Bless Me Ultima. My paternal abuela is from descendants of northern New Mexican and southern Colorado families who have called the Southwest home for generations upon generations. This is who I was raised with. Growing up, I never had the opportunity to see our families reflected in literature. This all changed in 1972 when Rudolfo Anaya published the novel Bless Me Ultima. To understand the significance of this book, we must first consider who this man is. Anaya, who passed away this last June, was born in 1937 in Pastura, New Mexico. The self-taught writer lived and breathed the culture, history, and landscape of the Southwest. He is considered the godfather of Chicano literature and was instrumental in bringing the Chicano cultural narrative into the mainstream. He is the recipient of the National Medal of Arts, the National Humanities Medal, and in 2013 was on America's Most Banned list. As a teenager, Bless Me Ultima inspired me as I struggled to define who I was. Now, half a century later, I realize that Bless Me Ultima is a timeless novel that speaks to the human conditions that we now are facing. It addresses complex issues about the loss of innocence, one's search for identity, the collision of opposing cultures, our ability to forgive, our connection to the natural world, the devastating effects of war, alienation, labeling, and revenge. The novel boldly proposes that different beliefs, faiths, and religions can coexist. Bless Me Ultima is a coming-of-age story about Antonio Mares, set in the mid-1940s in Guadalupe County of New Mexico. Here, the vast, sweeping plains of the Llanos merge into the fertile fields of the Pecos River Valley. The dichotomy of the land is symbolic of Antonio's heroic journey to manhood. Antonio's mother, Maria Luna, is a devoutly Catholic, and her family are farmers of indigenous descent. They aspire for him to become a priest and live among their people. Antonio's father, Gabriel, is a Mares, a descendant of the seafaring Spanish conquistadors, the wild vaqueros that still roam freely the Llanos. They dream Antonio will become a great horseman and follow in their footsteps. Antonio struggles how to reconcile the expectations of both his families, but this struggle is only a small part of a deeper spiritual challenge. The novel opens as Ultima, a mysterious, powerful curandera, comes to live out her final days with Antonio. He discovers that not only was she present at his birth, but has also delivered and ministered to the needs of countless people in the Llanos for generations upon generations. Ultima becomes Antonio's spiritual mentor. She teaches him about the folklore and folk remedies that have been known to his ancestors for centuries. She helps him to understand that the traditions of his past are part of what defines his own future, but he must make those decisions himself. Throughout the novel, Antonio is plagued by prophetic dreams and conflicting concepts about a Christian God and the gods of his ancestors. When his uncle Lucas is deathly ill, said to be bewitched by the daughters of the novel's antagonist Tenorio, no priest, no medical doctor can help Lucas. It is only Ultima who can cure Tio Lucas. Ultima guides Antonio when he is faced with perplexing moral dilemmas about good and evil, fairness and justice. When Lopito, a delusional war veteran, is hunted down and killed because he has killed the town sheriff, Antonio's father is part of the posse. He worries that his father will go to hell. Ultima confronts him and says, "It is not for man to judge who goes to hell." Antonio also witnesses the murder of Narcisco, but no one cares about him because he's a town drunk. Antonio questions God, why would you allow this, or allow his young Florence, who is an orphan and whose sisters are prostitutes, to drown? Or why would God allow the Anglo kids at school to make fun of him for his Spanish and his Mexican food? Ultima tells Antonio, life is filled with sadness as you grow to be a man, but as you grow into manhood, you must not despair, but gather your strength to sustain you. Ultima is a bridge between worlds. From her, Antonio begins to realize that there is no single way of interpreting the world. She is grounded in both indigenous and Catholic traditions, and she understands that life and spirituality can be viewed in many different and equally valid ways.
That's it. Well, I can only apologize for cutting you off. Time was up, but you left us with such great suspense to find out what happens. For those of you who have not read Bless Me Ultima, you're going to want to pick it up and read it. So thank you, Dr. Fillardo. Moving along to our fourth contestant, Adrian Miller, attorney and food writer, known far and wide as the Soul Food Scholar. He has won the James Beard Foundation Award for Scholarship and Reference for his first book, Soul Food, The Surprising Story of an American Cuisine, One Plate at a Time. And his second book, The President's Kitchen Cabinet, The Story of the African Americans Who Have Fed Our First Families from the Washingtons to the Obamas, was a finalist for the 2018 NAACP Image Award for Outstanding Literary Work of Nonfiction. His third book, Black Smoke, African Americans and the United States of Barbecue, will be published this spring. From 1999 to 2001, Adrian served as a special assistant to President Bill Clinton with his Initiative for One America, the first freestanding office in the White House to address issues of racial, religious, and ethnic reconciliation. A certified barbecue judge, Adrian moves through the world, as he likes to say, dropping knowledge like hot biscuits. And he's going to tell us, appropriately enough, about The Taste of Country Cooking by the great Edna Lewis. Adrian, take it away. Make us hungry.
All right, I will. Thank you so much. First of all, I want to say thank you to the Denver Public Library and also the Denver Public Library family for this opportunity. And since this is a battle, I'm going to start out this way. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for the obvious choice to be included on this list? And I would humbly submit that is The Taste of Country Cooking by Edna Lewis. This is a great cookbook. And the reason why I love this cookbook is, first of all, it's a literary cookbook. So I'm one of these weird people that actually reads cookbooks. And this book really tells the story of not only Edna Lewis, but her community, where she came from. She was born in a place called Freetown, Virginia, in rural Virginia. And it was a community that was started by people who were previously enslaved. And so she talks about the rhythms of life in that community and gives you a real sense of what it was like to grow up there. And so the way that the book is organized is that basically she walks you through the entire year and gives a seasonal approach to cooking. So let's just say you had this book in your hands today, you know, it's winter, it's gonna be snowing on Monday. A typical menu she would give you is this for a winter dinner: chicken with dumplings, glazed carrots, crusty yeast bread with butter, warm gingerbread with sweetened whipped cream, and coffee. That was the menu. Now, if you have doubts as to whether she's a good cook, listen to some of the people that have grubbed in her restaurant when she was in New York. She left Virginia went to New York. She was initially a dressmaker, but she had skills, and somehow she got connected with some other people, and she was part of a restaurant called Cafe Nicholson, which was kind of in the higher upper mid 50s on Manhattan's east side. And so William Faulkner, Tennessee Williams, Greta Garbo, Howard Hughes, Salvador Dali, Marlene Dietrich, Eleanor Roosevelt, James Beard, Truman Capote, Craig Claiborne, the legendary food columnist for the New York Times. They all ate in her restaurant. And I believe that Edna Lewis is not as well appreciated as she should be. She's considered the grande dame of Southern food, which she just clearly distinguishes from soul food. She's like, soul food is something different than Southern food. The difference between having fresh, seasonal ingredients versus something dried, canned, frozen, or whatever, which is what you would get outside of the South. And so I'm going to read a portion of her book. It's kind of the end of the introduction. And she says, over the years, since I left home and lived in different cities, I kept thinking about the people I grew up with and about our way of life. Whenever I go back to visit my brothers and sisters, we relive old times, remembering the past. And when we share again in gathering wild strawberries, canning, rendering, lard, finding walnuts, picking persimmons, making fruitcake, I realize how much that bond held us together and how much that had to do with food. Since we are the last of the original families with no children to remember and carry on, I decided that I wanted to write down just exactly how we did things when I was growing up in Freetown that seemed to make life so rewarding. Although the founders of Freetown have passed away, I'm convinced that their ideas do live on for us to learn from, to enlarge upon, and to pass on to the following generations. I'm happy to see how many young people are going back to the land and to the South. They are interested in natural farming, and they seem to want to know how we did things in the past, to learn firsthand from those who worked hard, loved the land, and relished the fruits of their labor. I hope that this book will be helpful to them, but above all, I want to share with everyone who may read this a time and a place that is so very dear to my heart. Edna Lewis talked about seasonal cooking. She inspired Alice Waters, and the book is really just a great read. And two other reasons why you should pick up this book. One is that Edna Lewis was actually part of a stamp. There was a stamp of great chefs, and she made it on the short list. And then lastly, just look at that smile. I mean, don't you want to know that person? And you can know her through this book. Thank you.
Adrian, thank you. I hope you can hear me. Ashara, you have to start my video again. Okay, there we go. Adrian, thank you for that very tasty presentation. And it's now 7:40 here on the East Coast, so you made me even more hungry than I was before. So we'll
Mission
move
accomplished.
We'll move on to our final presenter, who you met at the top of the program, Erica Martinez, Director of Communications and Community Engagement at the Denver Public Library. She's an established communications and marketing leader with over 15 years experience developing and executing multifaceted external and internal marketing communication plans for public, private, and nonprofit organizations. She's filling in for Governor Polis tonight, and we're grateful for her willingness to share a book she loves with us. That book is The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. Erica, take it away.
Great. Well, when I agreed to jump in for Governor Polis, I should have negotiated when I went. So some really great presentations today. So I'm here today to tell you about one book that has been instrumental in my life since the moment I picked it up about 15 years ago. The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Griez changed my life. Don Miguel is a Mexican author who is internationally known and a renowned spiritual teacher of Toltec spiritualism. The Toltecs are an indigenous people of Mexico who preceded the Aztecs. They are known as the men and women of knowledge. Combining Toltec mythology and scientific perspectives, Don Miguel has been able to merge ancient wisdom with modern physics and practical common sense, forging a new philosophy for seekers of truth and personal authenticity like myself. This is what the Four Agreements is about. Now listen, I consider myself a spiritual person, but the idea of reading a book like this one made me a little hesitant, but I read it anyway when a good friend recommended it. I was surprised at how easy of a read it was. The author gives us 4 easy moral pillars that help transform our lives to a new experience of freedom, true happiness, and love. I was drawn by the beautiful Toltec stories of wisdom and history that Don Miguel weaves into the practical steps he outlines for all of us to live by. The agreements are simple and logical, which I really do appreciate. However, they each require intense commitment. So I'm going to share the agreements with you because they aren't a secret, and then I'll share some additional thoughts. The first agreement is be impeccable with your word. Speak with integrity, say only what you mean. Avoid using the word to speak against yourself or to gossip about others. Use the power of your word in the direction of truth and love. Wow, love this one. Second one, don't take anything personally. This one was really tough for me. Nothing others do is because of you. What others say and do is a projection of their own reality, their own dream. When you are immune to the opinions and actions of others, you won't be the victim of needless suffering. Phew, gives me goosebumps to this day. Third one, don't make assumptions. Another really hard one for me. Find the courage to ask questions and to express what you really want. Communicate to others as clearly as you can to avoid misunderstandings, sadness, and drama. And the last one, and one of my favorite, always do your best. Your best is going to change from moment to moment. It will be different when you are healthy as opposed to being sick. Under any circumstance, simply do your best, and you will avoid self-judgment, self-abuse, and regret. So this small but mighty book challenges you to live a life of freedom, which yes, requires some self-reflection. Every time I have read this book, I take away something new. Now, some of you may be thinking, this is really not my cup of tea. And besides, she just gave us the 4 agreements. Friends, I'm here to tell you that whether you think you need it or not, this book has something for everyone, and it's an absolute necessary. This book can transform your life. It's made me a better wife, daughter, family member, friend, and colleague, and it's in multiple languages. It's for these reasons that I believe it's worthy of being included in the 1,000 books to read before you die. Dying fulfilled, happy, and full of love sounds like a really good plan to me. I invite you to vote for the 4 agreements by Don Miguel Griez. Thank you.
Erica, thank you so much. What a great lineup of books tonight. We're going to get a chance now to vote on who we felt was most persuasive. You should see a poll appearing on your screen now, and you can vote for the book you would most like to read next. We're going to give you 2 minutes to vote. And while that's going on, while you're thinking about this, I know it's a tough choice, I'd like to say a few words about our book-selling partner, Book Bar, on Tennyson Street. In the year of 2020, during a pandemic, Book Bar hosted 100 author events, 300 literary events, 30 children's authors for 45 school visits, and 15 store events. We're instrumental in donating 30,000 books to more than 70 Denver nonprofits, hosted 8 writers in residence, which is a great idea for a bookstore, and even launched Book Bar Press and issued their first book, Bite Size, an anthology of micro theater, featuring 10 short plays that were originally produced in 2018 by the Denver Center for the Performing Arts and staged at Book Bar. An amazing accomplishments, and I hope you'll support them by buying some of the books you heard about tonight. You can buy my book there, 1,000 Books to Read Before You Die. And if you buy it, they have signed book plates to go in this book. And they also, I understand, are carrying the calendar I did, page-a-day calendar, 1,000 Books to Read Before You Die, that gives you a little dose of readerly love every day for the year 2020. So thank you to Book Bar. You got 30 seconds left to place your vote for either Love Medicine, La Maravilla, Bless Me Ultima, The Taste of Country Cooking, or The Four Agreements. And 10 seconds left. Somebody's asking me in the chat how I decided which books to cut from 1,000 Books to Read Before You Die. Well, that's why the book took me 14 years, and not a day in that period or since have I not come upon a book that I wish I had included. Okay, our 2 minutes are up, and the winner is, I'm first going to give you the runner-up. The runner-up is Bless Me Ultima, presented by Renee Fillardo tonight. And the winner is The Taste of Country Cooking by Edna Lewis, presented by Adrian Miller. So Adrian, as the winner, gets a signed copy of my book, and I'll be over at your house next time in Denver for some biscuits. And the runner-up, Dr. Fillardo, gets to participate in the next battle, which we hope we'll be able to do in Denver in person when things have cleared up. So thank you to our contestants. Before we get to the awarding of our fabulous reader's gift bag to a member of the audience, a few more things. I invite you to visit our website at 1000bookstoread.com. That's the numbers 1000 bookstoread.com, where you can see my list of books. And more importantly, you can add your own books. Any of you who are attending tonight, just as our contestants did, can nominate a book for our audience to consider. So it's a lot of fun. You can go on the site and see what books have been added, books I've chosen. You can argue with me. It's a lot of fun. 1000bookstoread.com. While you're there, you can also sign up for my newsletter, which comes out every other week, where I talk about events like this and other things I'm reading, and some of the books I'm adding to what we call the next 1000, to which we just added 5 books tonight. So I hope you'll sign up for the newsletter. And if you know a library that would like to host an event like this, you can email us at hello@1000books.com. Before I pass it over to Erica for the award, just a few more words, if I may. The librarians at Denver Public Library, like the booksellers at Book Bar, are committed to a vocation I share, one best expressed in Christopher Morley's novel, The Haunted Bookshop, which was written about 100 years ago. And that is to spread good books about, to sow them on fertile minds, to cultivate understanding and a carefulness of life and beauty. As I put it at the conclusion of my book, the introduction to my book, such faith in reading's power and the learning and imagination it nourishes is something I've been lucky enough to take for granted as both fact and freedom. It's something I fear may be forgotten in the great amnesia of our in-the-moment news feeds and algorithmically designed identities, which hide from view the complexity of feelings and ideas that books demand we quietly and determinedly engage. To get lost in a book, be it a story or a study, is inherently to acknowledge the voice of another, to broaden one's perspective beyond the confines of one's own understanding. A good book is the opposite of a selfie. The right book at the right time can expand our lives in the way love does, making us more thoughtful, more generous, more brave, more alert to the world's wonders, and more pained by its inequities, more wise, more kind. All those qualities are more important now than they've ever been. for they are the most enduring antidote to the diseases, both medical and political, that darken our days right now. In a book by the Scottish writer Ali Smith, whose works I recommend to you, she shares a conversation with the daughter of a friend whose name is Helen. And Helen says that the important thing about the notion of a public library now is that it's the one place you can just turn up to, a free space, a democratic space where anyone can go and be there with other people, and you don't need money, and whose underlying municipal truth is that it isn't a shop, and you can just go. It's somewhere you can just be with people of all ages around you. It doesn't have to be educational. It doesn't matter who you are or what you're doing, young or old, rich or homeless. It doesn't matter. You can just go there. So it's not about books anymore, Smith asked Helen, or is it about more than books? It always was, Helen said, in that books have always been about people, Smith says. Well, of course, but there was a culture that encouraged us, and now it doesn't exist, Helen's mother, who happens to be the novelist Kate Atkinson, said. That's from Ali Smith. For my part, I'd like to close with the thought that a culture that encourages us may no longer exist in our society at large, but I've seen it thriving again and again in libraries across America, like the Denver Public Library, and I salute it. Walk into a library, no matter who you are or what you believe, no matter if you're headed to the stacks or to computer terminal, and your life is made bigger, not smaller. That's what civic life is meant to do, and seldom does these days in any other venue. If we want to reconnect to the idea of public good, going to the library is a good start. So I thank the Denver Public Library for the use of the hall tonight and for the public good it does every day of the year. Be safe, be well, read good books, support your library and your local bookstore, and know how lucky you are to have both. I'll turn it back to Erica now. Good night.
Wow, thank you, Jim, so much for being here. And thank you to our panelists for making this such a wonderful event. I am blown away by everyone's battle, and I am walking away with a couple of books I have not read. There is a prize package for one lucky participant today. The package includes 2 1,000 books t-shirts, 2 1,000 books mugs, 1 1,000 books page a day calendar for 2021, 1 pair of library themed socks, those sound fun, 1 1,000 books journal, 1 Never Enough Books canvas tote bag. I agree with that. And the winner today is Danica Anstein. We will be in contact with you soon to deliver the prize. And so again, thank you so much to Book Bar, the Denver Public Library Friends Foundation, Levin Daly as well for your support of tonight's event. Have a great evening, everyone. And don't forget to take care of each other, wear a mask, and visit denverlibrary.org. Thank you.